Did the Dodgers just ruin baseball?
I don't think so.
John, fresh off his parade, fresh off back-to-back championships in 3 and 6 years, the general manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Brandon Gomes, joins us.
Yeah, great job by you getting Brandon. Great job by Brandon being willing to do this at this point. I don't know if he's still gotten any sleep. He's sure coming off an amazing high, one of the best World Series ever, if not the best ever. And I'm anxious to ask him about all the plays that went down that made it the best World Series.
Yeah, what a great series the 121st World Series was. We'll ask him about all that, the key players, where the Dodgers are moving forward, are they ruining baseball or not. John and I will break down our thoughts on the World Series and where the Mets and Yankees are as the hot stove begins. We'll play hit and error at the end if you stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. We went through this together. It was a great World Series. We're sitting there side by side for game 6 and 7 in Rogers Center. It's right up there with one of the best I've seen. I'd have the conversation for me. It's 2016 World Series and 1991 World Series. I put this one right there with it. It was thrilling to the end. We didn't know the outcome till literally the final pitch of an extra innings. Go wherever you want, John, about what will linger for you from the World Series.
Well, so many plays by inches would have swung it the other way. So that to me is the thing for Game 7 that we really hadn't seen. 91 to me, I love that World Series, a 1-0 pitchers duel with Smoltz and Morris. Tough to top that one for me. But I think for excitement, this probably did with the Rojas backhand play getting IKF by inches at the home plate with the liner to Muncy, one couple inches one way or the other. The inserting Paes into center field, the guy was kind of forgotten because he hadn't been hitting. Him running over Kike to make that play in center. Obviously, the 2 home runs. The Rojas home run is an all-timer right there with Bucky Dent and Carter and Mazeroski. But for a surprise, it's there with a Bucky Dent home run, and in the ninth inning with 2 outs to go, even more exciting. It's an all-time great World Series, as we can see by the fans that watched it worldwide, 51 million. Obviously, you've got an international element with the great Japanese players. Obviously, in Canada, Toronto, all excited about their team, which really deserves a lot of credit. They really came together. I didn't see this coming. Only Mike Puma saw this coming, I think, in the whole world. And, we got to give them credit. They really, by runs at least, outplayed the Dodgers. They won one more game than the Dodgers in the regular season. It's just an amazing job by them as well. But of course, the Dodgers are a truly great team, and we know they're not ruining baseball either.
Yeah, John, you went someplace I wanted to go, which was to give some love to the Blue Jays, who had the best record in the American League, beat the Yankees, beat the Mariners when they were down 0-2 after losing the first 2 games at home and came all the way back to do that. And I just think it's got to be impossible for their fan base and for the people who are employed as players, executives, etc. It just feels like if it was a boxing match, the Blue Jays won 10 around 10-8. Like I thought they outplayed them in almost every way, but there were 3 close games, and the Dodgers won all 3 close games. One was a double game, right? It was 18 innings, game 3. And it's just a reminder of I know fan bases are always like our team sucks. Why don't they win? It's just these are hard to win. I mean, the Blue Jays are literally came as close to me. I don't think of all the game sevens I've covered that a team has come as close to winning the World Series without winning it as the Blue Jays did this year. Because even in some
Absolutely.
of those other game sevens, I wasn't sure that the winning team was outplayed. I think the Dodgers were outplayed. And you just went through it. The ball to Muncy 3 inches this way or that way. It's Miguel Rojas beating you, and not Ohtani or Betts or Freeman. It's Yamamoto doing a supernatural thing for the last 2 days of the World Series, besides throwing a complete game earlier in it, which again marks the Dodgers as champions. But it is hard to win a championship. And I guess the thing I could say is the Dodgers won it. I don't really feel like the Blue Jays lost it. I feel they were noble in how hard outman star wise, how great they played to the end.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I was in that clubhouse, the losing clubhouse, before I went on the field and with the Dodgers. They were wrecked, and I can't blame them. I would expect it. I don't think I've ever seen a clubhouse this wrecked. Saw the 2001 Yankees. They were shocked. They were shocked as any losing World Series team you'll ever see. This team was wrecked. There were a lot of tears in there. There were a lot of red eyes in there. They were, they thought they had it. I mean, they had their closer who was going great guns. Uh, with 2 outs to go, I mean, they would have face Ohtani, so it was no guarantee, but certainly they think they'd get past Miguel Rojas. They had it all set up in terms of the pitching. They seemed to have it much set up, better set up than the Dodgers, who found a way with Yamamoto, unbelievably coming back after throwing a complete game into 6 innings in six, and then you know. Uh, Pitching and winning game seven, was an amazing performance. He's really truly underrated. He's probably underpaid. I don't think we even believed that he was getting 325 at that moment. Philly was willing to go there. The Mets were willing to go there as well. They all knew it. He was a three-time Cy Young winner. He's got a big heart. They're a team of superstars. That certainly gives you an edge in the end, but. I mean, I thought Toronto was winning this many times on the final day, and even before that, going back to Toronto up by 2 games. But you know what? They pulled it out in the ALCS, right? Without the Springer home run that killed it for Seattle and won it for Toronto, they wouldn't have been there. So maybe that makes them feel a little bit better. I don't know. They certainly looked very, very upset, and I understand it completely.
Yeah, John, you said something that really caught my attention there about like they almost had no place to turn and they turned to Yamamoto. The Dodgers did have a weakness. Their traditional bullpen was
Right.
not good, and they employed a lot in it, like a lot of money on Trinan and Scott and Yates, etc. None of them, two of them weren't on the roster, and Dave Roberts ran away from his traditional relievers to use starters like Sheehan and Sasaki and ultimately Yamamoto here. This is the second year in a row where they kind of like we're patching together pitching and they're kind of a dynasty out of it. And it's my way of almost transitioning. The teams they beat last year were the Mets in the NLCS and the Yankees in the World Series to win the first of the back-to-back. And today, as the offseason begins, I feel like the Mets are much further away than they were at this time last year. It just felt like they were on the brink of a really good run and then somehow didn't even make the playoffs this year in a 6-team league where maybe there were five good teams or five very good teams. And they didn't make it with their high $300 million payroll and Juan Soto and Alonso, etc. John, as we go into this offseason and hot stove has now fully begun, I wonder, let's start with the Mets. Where do you think the Mets are and what do you think they have to accomplish this offseason?
Yeah, they got a lot of work to do. They got to put together a whole pitching staff. I mean, last year they made the biggest signing in baseball history. Maybe in terms of interest, Ohtani probably beat it, but in terms of money, it was number one. And right now, it feels like they got a long way to go. Right, their rotation is kind of in flux. The bullpen is kind of half empty or three-quarters empty. There's a lot of work to do. Alonso is a free agent once again. They don't have a center fielder. I mean, the Yankees are in good shape because they have a rotation that's really good with Cole coming back as well. Their rotation's in as good a shape as anybody except maybe the Dodgers. They've got a few things to do. But yeah, I'm with you. The Mets, I don't want to say starting at square one. They got a $765 million right fielder and a $342 million shortstop. But they got a long way to go.
John, I'm going to be a bit of a contrarian on something you said. I'm not sure the Yankee rotation's in a great place. Shane Bieber had Tommy John surgery in April of 2024 and didn't pitch until late August of 25. I think we're making a bunch of assumptions about when Garrett Cole is going to pitch and to what level of success. He's Garrett Cole. I have a strong belief in his work ethic and his talent, but it is Tommy John surgery, and we act like it's like getting a haircut these days, and it's not. He still has to come back from it. Carlos Rodon is going to be coming back from a surgery as well, an elbow surgery. The hope is that both guys are back May 1st. Fried is coming off the heaviest workload of his career. Schlittler, we have not seen go through a whole season as a starting pitcher. Luis Heel was disappointing this year and has a hard time staying healthy. Clark Schmidt is August 1st at the earliest. I actually think they have to go get starting pitching this offseason to try to kind of at least begin the year well because they won't have a couple of these guys. Do you think I'm actually wrong about that?
Well, I still think it's better than most and almost all. But yeah, I mean, there certainly are questions about. I mean, it's quite. You could say there's questions about Yamamoto too, right? Because he had a big workload, right?
Yeah.
So you can always come up with questions. I feel pretty good about.
25 though, as opposed to 31.
Yeah, I feel good about Schlittler. He looked really, really good. That was good. They hung on to him rather than trade him at the deadline, like I suggested. And so I think I think he'll sophomore thing. He's coming off an injury. I think he'll be better. I have faith in Max Fried. I know he had a bad start, that last start. I don't know what was going on there because he was still throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. I feel decent about their rotation. They got to figure out obviously what's going on with Bellinger and center field, outfield, and are the kids going to be ready? Is Dominguez going to be better? That's a question. They're going to get help from the minors. They do have another outfielder with big potential. I mean, there are a number of questions with every team, except for the Dodgers, of course. Then we know they're going to be spectacular again. But with every team, there are questions, and I just feel like the Yankees are in better shape than the Mets. That I'll say that.
I agree with you. I think the Yankees start from a higher platform than the Mets. I just think that I don't think that the starting pitching is a giveaway. Let's wrap this up with one Yankee thing because you mentioned the Bellinger issue is probably like issue number one as they begin this offseason. Will they or won't they? And I've seen this framed a lot as Bellinger or Tucker. And to me, if I'm the Yankees, it's Bellinger or something else. Like I've got to say, I get it on a piece of paper what Kyle Tucker looks like. But just the idea of like the Yankees must throw money into the mouth of the offseason to satisfy a certain kind of fan and fan base. Like to me, Kyle Tucker is not a 350 million plus dollar player. If you told me it's not Bellinger and they said, hell, we'll have bad defense at first base, we'll sign Kyle Schwarber to play first base. I'm not suggesting they don't spend money. If you say sign Alex Bregman, a goddamn winner, to play third base, and you trade the third baseman you have back out into the industry, I'm for it. But I don't see this as Bellinger versus Tucker. Bellinger fits with the Yankees, and I would not be spending, 35 plus million a year for 10 years on Kyle Tucker. That's me. He
I
leaves
don't see how
he
that's
leaves me
happening. I don't know.
cold when I watch him play.
Is that a fan thing? I don't see that at all with Tucker with the Yankees. I mean, I could see the Phillies. I see potentially the Dodgers, the Giants, the
I kind of think he fits
Jays.
the Blue Jays perfectly. He's a Blue
Yeah,
Jay player, right? He doesn't swing and miss, and he could be a supplementary player, which is, I think, what he wants to be in the Vlad world.
yeah,
But like,
yeah. Is there a supplementary $400 million player? Because I think he's gonna. If he doesn't get 400 million, he's gonna get close. There are a lot of reasons Bellinger fits the Yankees better. First, he did it in New York. So we know he can do it in New York. He can play center field, which is a question now. Grisham also a free agent. He can play first base, right? Goldschmidt also a free agent, probably not coming back. And he's a lot cheaper. And frankly, the Yankees are not owned by Mark Walter. They're owned by a guy who's looking at the bottom line, right? So to me, they're going after Bellinger, and that's it. I don't know. I don't see Tucker for the Yankees. Now, will they talk to him? They talk to everybody. They talk to Harper. They talk to Machado. They talk to everybody. But I mean, they also have the best right fielder in the world, right? Overall, hitting and defense, right? Tucker to me is a non-fit for the Yankees. If that's the way it happens, a lot of things will have to go a little bit haywire, I think.
right, like if he plays, I guess that mean if you sign Tucker, it would mean you trading Dominguez. Like what are you doing, right? Because putting Judge back in center seems like a non-starter at 34. So unless Tucker says he's going to play center, again, like I just think that there's this, hey, you're not trying if you don't get the most expensive player in the
I'm all
market.
for them
Like,
spending money. I mean, he's a
that's
billion.
so am I.
He
I'm
should
ready
spend as
to
much
do
money as he needs to
Schwarber
spend,
if
and
not.
I think he
Yeah.
should spend money like Mark Walters spends money, right? It certainly isn't. The Dodgers have done a lot of things great. They obviously own Japan right now, which is a really smart thing that they did. It isn't only about the money, but they are about $80 million ahead of the Yankees at this point, and right now, I mean, their revenues are neck and neck. It's hard to know exactly. You see different lists. Who knows what the revenues are? Maybe the Dodgers' revenues are a little bit ahead because certainly Ohtani is a cash cow, so that probably helps. But they're both teams are way ahead of everybody else, and the Dodgers are way ahead of the Yankees in payroll. So I'm not against them spending money, but makes no to me. Tucker fits a lot of the big market teams. It's not a real fit with the Yankees.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to save Housenheimer's money. As I mentioned, I would think about Schwarber. I would think about Bregman. I certainly, again, I think they need a starting pitcher or two because just hoping and praying that a couple of guys come back from elbow surgery when you want to be good seems to be a folly to me, and they have to rebuild the bullpen a little. I'm not in the trust fund business for Hal Steinbrenner, but I've just seen this framed in too many places as Bellinger versus Tucker, and Tucker doesn't make a lot of sense to the Yankees for me. The team they're all going to be chasing yet again next year is the Los Angeles Dodgers, back-to-back champions 3 times in 6 years. Their general manager, Brandon Gomes, joins us on the show next. John, I don't know if we could get more timely than this. The Dodgers won the World Series over the weekend. Brandon Gomes has been employed with them for 9 years in a variety of jobs, the last 4 as the general manager of now the back-to-back champion Dodgers. Brandon, we know you're busy, still enjoying this, trying to plan the offseason. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Brandon, it's 4 days, and I still kind of am like, I'm personally riding a high of having covered that series and covered that last game. So I just wonder if I could start as broad as possible and just say what lingers 4 days later for somebody who was an architect of this and obviously living and dying with every pitch.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell in my voice or I'm a little sick. So it turns out sleep and stress or lack of sleep and stress for an extended period of time isn't great for your health. So that's one lingering effect. But I think more like each day at some point, it's kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And, the joy of last year and all that work that everybody put in, coaches, front office going into this offseason to try to do it again. And of course, that's the goal, and knowing how daunting and challenging it is and to actually get back to that spot. Incredibly gratifying. Couldn't be more proud of our, players and coaches and the way they all came together and continue to fight, every single day. So there's a little bit of different times throughout the day, kind of a pinch me moment of like, man, that is some kind of cool.
Take us through the emotions of the biggest plays. I mean, to me, the Rojas home run is number one, and obviously to get the liner to Muncy when he's playing in. You've got the Pajes catch at the wall, running over Kike. Obviously, the Will Smith game-winning home run. That's probably almost number 4 or 5. But what take me through the emotions of all of those plays as you were watching. I mean, you must have thought you were going to lose a couple of points, right?
Yeah, I mean, you go through the whole game. Game 6 was so intense and such an amazing performance by so many people, and you get to game 7, kind of having opportunities here and there, and then Bichette hits the homer, and you can the place erupts, and there's a little bit of the wind knocked out of your sails. So, we kept chipping away there, but there wasn't any like one point of like, okay, we're like gaining momentum. And, I had to like go back and rewatch the game, all of those things that you talked about, the liner to Muntz where he's like just in self-preservation mode. His body's facing second base. And he's like, don't die. The goal there. I had my son sitting on my lap who's 6 years old for like the last 4 innings. And I was like, he's not a small child. I was like picking him up on some of these moments. And he's like, Dad, that kind of hurt. Like, take it easy. So, I mean, there's just so much emotion. There was a big group of us in the box watching it together. My wife and kids, Andrew's wife and kids, and a bunch of people from the front office. So it was really cool to enjoy the ups and downs together. Everybody's in it and pours so much time and energy into the day to day, and as everybody does throughout the industry. But it's so fun to be able to enjoy those moments, and like when you're feeling bad and down, you have that group to support you as well. So it's a big collective unit that's very similar to a family.
Brandon, we often talk about kind of the crapshoot nature of this time of year. John and I were, fortunate. We covered the last kind of dynasty back-to-back teams very intimately. That was the Yankees who went 96 and then more importantly 98 to 2000. And I thought one of the things that stood out about that group, there were two things that I thought made them better at this time of year. It was almost like any starting pitcher they started was really good. Like you just trusted it, and it felt like it took some of the crapshoot away. And then they had so many reps at this time of year that there was a calm about them that they'd figure it out. And I just wonder, do you see some of that? Like I get it. Like you could have lost in 10 different places in this World Series, but you didn't because I think like your team has like reps and knows that like, hey, get all 27 outs before we concede anything.
I think that's definitely part of it. I think, as you said, there has to be some good fortune along the way. I think when you go out and play good baseball and do the little things, you create some of that good fortune. And then certainly a group of guys that have been together for a long time. You think back to 2020 being down 3-1 to the Braves in the CS, and being able to come back. So I think there's plenty of these moments along the way that, okay, we're down, but we're not out, and like just keep chipping away and like force and apply the pressure to the other team. And when they make mistakes, then we'll be ready to strike. And I think that's a lot of the culture, the reps, the belief in each other that, hey, let's just keep going and we will find a way to get this done because A, we're talented, and B, we've been there before. So I think it's a testament to the work that those guys put in and the fact that they've been there quite a bit before.
Seemed like the moves of the last couple of days that they've made and the front office to some degree really paid off. Take me through those moves. The ones that stand out to me are inserting Rojas into the game and having him be a player and putting Edman then in center field. And then also, even though Paz had been removed, putting Pais in, and I thought it was in for his arm, but you can explain to me exactly why Pais was in that game and to make that great play. And then also, obviously moving Will Smith up to the number 2 spot. I mean, he ended up hitting the game-winning home run. I guess whoever bats behind Ohtani, that's the key spot for me. I don't know. You tell me. You explain it to me though, because they all seem to really work at the end.
Yeah, obviously a lot of conversations going along the way, and we talk about this all the time, and there's like, there's a process, and hey, kind of go through X, Y, and Z and give some rope, and the difference from the regular season, you get into the postseason, you just don't have the same wiggle room, right? It's kind of a little bit more like, hey, what are we betting on today, not over the next week or two, and having a lot of conversations of who's going to provide a spark, what does it look like, what's the best defensive orientation, and a lot of it, we along the way, like trying to find ways to get Miggy in. He's such a key part of our clubhouse and our team and provide a spark. We're just in a little bit of a tough spot, like not sure of Tommy's capability of playing center field, just not being at 100%. And, he came in and said, hey, Doc, you need me to play center, I'm good. And Doc was like, okay, and let's get Miggy Rowe in there and see if he can provide a spark. And look, we weren't producing offensively very well at all across the board. So it was like, let's see what Miggy's got. We know he's going to compete and he's going to play an 80 grade defense and just be locked in on pitch one. And man, was he ever. And then Doc's move to put Andy in case we need to throw obviously paid off of him essentially trucking Kike there. But, I think it's one of those things where we talked about, like, you have guys that have been there before and you keep trying to prepare everybody as much as you can along the way. And things happen, guys just go out and make plays, and the talent rises, and they know that Doc has full trust in them. So they go out and perform to the best of their abilities.
Brandon, not long before we began this interview, I got an email from MLB that 51 million people worldwide watched this World Series. So I guess maybe that's the answer to this question, but did the Dodgers just ruin baseball?
I don't think so. It feels like sounds like ratings are as high as they've ever been. Obviously, like it's not like we just walked through the regular season by any means. We did not from what the expectations were to where we ended up, pretty big gap. And I think that's, part of the beauty of the game, that there is no like, you can just do X and that the output's going to be Y. Like, people are playing the game. There's a ton of variance in what we do. Other teams are really good too. And it's really hard to get here. And I think, the Blue Jays were a great team, incredibly well prepared. That offense was like relentless. They did such a great job with that group of guys. I think it's good for baseball, and there's more parity in baseball than there is in any other sport. So the ruining baseball thing, like whatever, people can say what they want. We're tasked with taking care of business on our end and trying to put the best team out there. But it feels like ratings were up and interest in baseball was up across the board. So I'd say that's a good thing.
Yeah, you're not rooting baseball. I mean, I think the proof's in the pudding, right? It's good to have a great team, but it's not an automatic team. And speaking of that, I was there a year ago, waiting for the Mets to come in and play the LCS, whether it be the Padres or you guys, and you guys kind of really came close to being eliminated. You were down 2 games to 1. You had a bullpen game against Dylan Cease in Game 4 in that division series, then won 2-0 back at home against the Padres. I know you probably at this point don't look back at it. It doesn't really matter that much, but I'm curious. Dave Roberts, I think, had said to Bob Costas, I'm not sure I still would have been the manager if we'd lost to the Padres again. I don't know if you want to relive that or not, but do you ever go back and think about that? I mean, talk about, close calls. That was a close call the year before as well. And we know you beat the Yankees and the Mets, not taking it to the limit, but how would things have changed? Is Dave right that he might not have been around had you lost that series to the Padres?
Dave's done such a tremendous job for us along the way. He's been such an integral part of the success. So obviously at each point there are these, you can go back, back to before I was here, 17, 18, if this would have happened, if that would have happened, the sliding doors of all of those things. The fact that, our coaching staff, Doc, keep going out there, putting our players in the position to succeed each and every day in the regular season and the postseason, is so special. And we've talked about this before, we can always go back and fit narratives after the fact. It's way easier. Well, that decision was great because it worked, and that one was bad because it didn't. Like, that's not always true. And I talked to Dave a lot about this. Like, it can't be like good, smart, bad, stupid. Like, that's not actually how it works. That might be how it's viewed externally, but like internally, we're a tight-knit unit and we know better than that. And it's like, hey, let's just keep going about and be the casino and try to be smart with each thing we do. And like I said, I think we've kind of seen that come to fruition here over the last couple of years. And mind you, doing it in very different ways, like a very bullpen heavy group last year, a very starting pitching heavy group this year. So kind of speaks to the fact of there's a lot of different ways to get at it, and there is no formula. And, sometimes things play out in a way that people think oh, that was a bad move. Like, just because it didn't work, if it worked, you would have said that was a great move. So it's just way more gray than people want to make it out to be. But as far as Dave and our coaching staff, like, they've done an amazing job over the years, and we can't wait to. Well, we're gonna take a little break, but can't wait to get back at it again next year.
I never thought I'd see, Brandon, where a guy could hit a home run in extra innings to win a World Series in Game 7 and kind of get as little fanfare as Will Smith just got. Because I think that the Rojas homer was so Bucky Dent, Bill Mazeroski surprising, and the series in total was so amazing and closely played. But this was a guy, he had a hairline fracture in his hand not very long ago, and maybe he still does for all we know. He caught 18 innings in one game and still had this at the end. I wonder if you could talk to the Will Smith of it all, who seems just like a brilliant player, but on a star-studded roster, maybe doesn't get the flowers that you anticipate a player of his skill level should get.
For sure. Will's just this all the time, right? He's like steady Eddie, which is great. It's a calming presence for the pitching staff. What we know how challenging that position is defensively. which anything that you then get out of it offensively is a plus. And for him to produce at that level and to come up clutch over and over and over again, like we're talking, you can go back to the CS of 20 where he's done this. How many walk-off homers has he hit along the way? In these big spots, his heartbeat just stays right there. And whether it's like shooting a single into the 3-4 hole because that's wide open, or pulling a hanging slider for a homer, he has all of these tools in his toolbox. And he's not the most outspoken guy, and he is surrounded by a group of mega stars. But Will's a superstar in his own right, and he's as trustworthy and dependable as anybody we have in that team.
Yeah, Mark, just to add to that, Mark DeRosa tells a story, and he says that Will Smith is a killer. They were on the WBC, DeRosa managing. He's the backup catcher. The star catcher at that point was JT Realmuto, and he tells a story that Will Smith said somewhere in the middle of the game, something like, "Put me in there." The guy's a competitor. There's no question about it. So I just want
very, very quiet confidence there. He's as humble as they come, but he does not mean he's not confident.
Absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, people talk about ruining baseball, $400 million payroll. It's not fair. I think the scouting, I think the foothold in Japan, there's so many great things that you guys did that even beyond the money. But since you're here, we should ask you, how's your budget looking? It feels like it's limitless to even people in New York. Are you going to do some big stuff this winter? I don't know. I mean, you don't really have any weaknesses, but obviously you have some strengths that are greater than others. Or do you have to pull back? Do you have to, cut back this year?
I mean, to be honest with you, the parade just finished what feels like a few hours ago. We haven't even, huddled up. We'll start chipping away at that here in the next couple of days, and obviously GM meetings. Next week we'll be able to fully dive in and wrap our arms around it. Like our ownership group has been nothing but supportive along the way. So each and every chance we have to improve our team, that's the goal. And kind of that could look like different things along the way. But if we've proven anything, it's that our ownership group will be supportive and do everything we can to put another championship caliber team out there. And to your point, we don't have any weaknesses. But that doesn't mean that we can't find ways to get better. So that'll be the goal as far as what the payroll is. We haven't even gotten to that point yet, but we do feel confident about putting out a championship caliber team.
Brandon, John and I are slipping when we could get 18 minutes into the interview with the Dodgers general manager, and we haven't asked the Shohei Ohtani question yet. This feels like a real failure. Look, you kind of played him perfect this year for kind of when you began to use him as a starting pitcher so he could be fresh to do it. It's never going to stop being a question, right? How long can he do both? So do you go into 2026 thinking he's both? And how long do you think he can do this thing which feels supernatural and superhuman
Yep.
for anyone? Take it away.
Yeah, the beauty of this year and the build-up and the unique nature of it was just like talking with Shohei along the way. Because I know that there's nobody else on planet Earth that can articulate what he's going through because nobody else can do what he does. So it's like, hey, Sho, how do you feel? What do you need? You've done this before. You've done it for a while at an incredibly high level. So a lot of that rehab process and then really finishing his rehab in the major leagues was with the idea of like, hey, what's the ultimate goal come October? Okay, pitch through the entire month. Great. Let's kind of think about it this way and build up so that, you're hitting your peak when needed. And, going into that last regular season start, talking with them, we all felt like it was important to try to get that sixth up, get into the sixth inning. It was like, we were all on the same page, knowing that, hey, we're taking the reins off now and you're going to go out there and be used like a normal pitcher. And nobody was more excited about that and adamant that like, hey, I'm ready to do whatever you guys need. So it's, there are no words to describe what he's capable of. And I'm sure as heck not betting against him that he's going to do it as long as he possibly wants to, because he's as good as they come on both sides of the ball. And, I think there's a little bit of like, I can't believe that this is happening again. It's like, oh, that's the greatest thing I've seen. Oh, that's the greatest thing I've seen. Oh, that's the greatest thing I've seen. So I think two of the things that we may never see again is the 3-homer and pitch 6 innings in a playoff game. And then to give Yamamoto credit, I'm not sure we'll ever see, 6+ innings and then close out a game in back-to-back days. We may not ever see that again. So two of the more amazing things, certainly my eyeballs have ever seen. You guys have seen more baseball than I have, but I'm not sure those things will ever happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys do a lot of things great. One thing the other teams have noticed about, and a couple of them are, I don't know, either regretting or annoyed, is the foothold you seem to have in Japan. Your two best players this year, you have two superstars and potentially a third one with Roki this year serving in the bullpen, Japanese players. What was the key for that? How did you get this foothold? When did you realize this is the way to go? They have great players in Japan, obviously. We've been the best player in the world and one of the best pitchers on top of that in Yamamoto. And also, while I'm at it, when did Yamamoto? Because I wrote foolishly, everybody's available except Yamamoto. I should have said presumably Yamamoto. When did he tell you that he's going to pitch again? And could you believe it? And were you nervous at all about putting him in?
So back to the first question, I mean, our scouting group has done an amazing job, led by Galen Carr, in Japan, dating back to this was before I got here. But I remember, them talking about Shohei in high school, and then hearing about Roki in high school and Yamamoto. Like, you hear about these guys, they just spent a lot of hours there with eyeballs on these guys, showing them love, showing our interest along the way. And then, as you kind of take a step back, like, okay, culturally, organizationally, we feel like we're set up in a very good place to support, guys coming over, and then, we're in a good position to win. So there's a lot of boxes that are checked along the way that, like, oh, that makes sense why those guys would want to go there. So we've been very fortunate that, Shohei, Shohei chose us, and then I think it kind of helped solidify some of the other options when talking to Yama, and then obviously going through the process with Roki, and plenty of times along the way, it's like, man, I don't know how this is going to play out, but really happy it turned the way it did. And Roki, you asked Roki, his regular season certainly didn't go the way any of us expected, but for him to be open to going into the pen, like, hey, I just want to help the team any way I can, to go out and did what he did, having never done that role before. Really impressive, and super excited for him, next year to get back to starting, and having had this, this amount of success, knowing that, use that as a springboard going in. And then back to Yama, I think it was like late that night of 6, getting messages from Will Ireton saying, like, hey, he's thinking about trying to find a way to pitch tomorrow, just so you know. So don't rule it out. He's like, this is something that is on his mind, and let's just see how he comes in tomorrow. So we're like, okay, like, certainly not expecting anything, but then went out and played catch, and they said he was ripping it. It's like, hey, I'm good. Like, obviously I'm not 100%, but I feel good enough, and, like, I want to pitch. And it was incredible. His stuff didn't even take a step back from the night before after throwing 93 pitches, and he did it for, 2+, still throwing 97 with 93 run-hour split. So, like I said earlier, it's absolutely remarkable, and I'm not sure we'll ever see that again. But for somebody to be that mentally and physically tough, to even say I'm willing to do it, like, the amount of respect that he's gained from his teammates and coaches, and obviously all of us, we already had the highest amount of respect for him, but that's just a whole other level.
It was just amazing. Will Ireton, the interpreter, of course. I had a couple of semi-housekeeping type questions for my last questions. Kike, Rojas, amazingly clutch. Obviously, their salaries aren't enormous by baseball standards. I can assume you're going to hope to bring them back. And what's the value of someone just being clutch? And then also Max Muncy, he's been a great performer for you guys too. I'm assuming he's got a reasonable option. He'll be back as well.
Yeah, all those guys have had such a huge impact on our culture, on performance, playoffs, all the things that we've talked about, leadership. So those are all questions we'll get into next week. And, obviously we'll spend a ton of time on that. And those guys have been a huge part of our success. And, we'll get into those decisions here soon.
As a way to wrap this up, you used the word culture. I think John used it as well. Again, if I was drawing a parallel between the last dynasty and this one, is it was amazing how hungry those Yankees stayed to keep winning championships, that they were not satisfied with anything that was in their past. And I know at the parade, a couple of your people were already talking three-peat. And I'd like to let a fan base, the people who are nice enough to listen to us know, look, we could talk Dodgers ruining baseball all the time. If you're at a ballpark that the Dodgers are playing in 4 hours before a game, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are on the field working out. Okay? Like every day. It is damn impressive because both guys are going to Cooperstown and both guys could rest on their laurels. And I just wonder if somewhere in there, Brandon, it's convoluted and too long already. There's a question about how you get from here to another parade. And is it kind of that route that your guys have stayed hungry to want to do this?
Yeah, I think their work ethic, they're not driven by anything but excellence and winning. Therefore, in order to get to that point, they know the amount of work that has to go in each and every day. There are no days off for these guys. They are so focused on winning, and I think they're at a point where, like, hey, this is everything that they do from the offseason to spring training on. You're not talking about legacy for a lot of these guys, and I think to your point, there's multiple Hall of Famers in that clubhouse, and they just want to win. And I think it permeates the culture, the clubhouse. It wears, it rubs off on the younger guys, and they know the expectations. And that makes it a challenging environment in a good way too. Of like, hey, let's go. We're here to win. So I think the expectations are high. You hear a lot about. I'm sure it's this way with Jeter and the Yankees. Jordan holding their guys accountable. Like we're here to win, and that is like the main goal. And how do you get there? Is you outwork the other guy. And to your point, Mookie and Freddie every single day are out there grinding, and they're doing everything they can to prepare. That goes same thing for Kersh over the years. Shohei, you don't see it; he just does it in the tunnel beforehand. But that balance and that hunger is like, this is just about winning. And when your sole goal is to win, like, how much work that goes into it. So there is a hunger there for sure.
Brandon, it was a great World Series. I think at this point, it's not hyperbole to say you have a great dynastic team. It's won two in a row. It's won three of the last six. It's been a permanent resident in the postseason for more than a decade. We talked a lot about a lot of people, but the brain power, you, Andrew Friedman, etc. It's a difficult. You could have money. You could also pick the wrong players. We've seen that along the way. And so, Brandon, some flowers towards you and your group as well for right people, right makeup, right talent, and now a dynasty. So, Brandon, congratulations on the championship, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate that.
Congrats. Thanks a lot, Brandon.
John and I, of course, thank Brandon Gomes for joining us on the show. Again, he's a repeat guest as well. We thank him. John, hit or error?
I'm going to do a hit for Major League Baseball. You might have done this last week or the week before. I'm not sure. My memory's not fading. If you did, you and the five other loyal listeners will remember. So too bad. MLB, 51 million people watching that Game 7. I don't know. It was like the most worldwide in 30 something years. I think since another time a Canadian team was involved. We got to get Jays in the World Series more, maybe. I don't know. But it was a great World Series. Baseball, people are still talking about it. I was listening to Mad Dog Radio yesterday, and hey, they're talking about baseball. There's stuff going on with the Jets, I hear, and other things in basketball and things that are going on. And they're all still talking about the World Series. So let's give a hit to Major League Baseball. It was a great World Series and a great year.
John, I did. And you went
I
to
stole it. I stole it.
No, but you also went to where I was going to go here, and I'm going to give a hit, not to make an error. My hit is to how great this postseason was, especially the World Series. You mentioned the 51 million viewers worldwide, perfect storm, right? A team with a lot of Japanese players and lots of stars, and a Canadian team, so we big worldwide audience. But to your point, we're in the zeitgeist again. We're talking baseball. And I know it's not going to prevent it, but I wish that the people who are in charge of labor on both sides of the divide remember that there is a golden goose here, and it seems to be getting a little plumper again when there were really some questions about our sport and where it fits into the national psyche. And right now it's in the middle again. It might never be the national pastime the way it was. I assume it will never be, but it's a hell of a sport. It's a hell of a league with lots of great players, and you got to figure out how to do this without destroying it again. And you've got about 12 months. December 1st next year is the end of the CBA. Please don't beat war drums publicly, though guys like John and I are going to ask about the war drums between now and then, and try to figure out a way to work together to keep the good times going. Because right now we're back at a good time, and to go in the wrong direction would be idiocy.
Well, we're very positive. People are now going to view us as very positive people, but you did end it on idiocy. So thank you for saving us there. I don't
Yes.
want it to be looked
John,
at.
I always stay in my lane.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Staying in his lane always. Tommy Hogan, our great producer, helps us so much with the show. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, please rate and review us. It does help the show, as does going to the New York Post Sports YouTube page and giving a view of the show. And Hot Stove is fully open now. Nobody, I always say this, I mean it. It's sincere. Nobody works harder at this stuff than Jon Heyman. If you want to stay on top of it, nypost.com, follow John. And of course, stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman.